And we have many young men and women who are in those schools. And so we're going to do everything we can and have started with the Economic Recovery Project as well as other projects that we have underway to try to fix those issues. So Indian Affairs issues, we need to make sure that the First Americans, who in many ways are in very vulnerable positions all across the country, in fact, have a place at the table just like all the rest of us. So it will be a big agenda. On President Obama and his interface with the cabinet, he's just like you and me. And so let me just conclude by saying the following. I hope I answered most of your questions. We are at a crossroads in America, really, because we can either take the road that says we're going to be in the ditch that we're in today economically and healthcare and around the world, or we can say no, we are moving forward with a sense of confidence and resolve. And President Obama believes strongly that we're moving forward with a sense of resolve and confidence. And you see that in him, in how he works, in the way I see him personally, often in Washington, D.C. and other places around the country. And for me, I sometimes look back and say, well, why should we have confidence given all of these problems that we're in that seem to be greater than anything that we've ever seen? Why should the unemployed here in Ohio have confidence that the best days are still ahead? And we can take our resolve and our confidence from those generations who have come before us. We can take it from those who lived through the Great Depression and the great Dust Bowls of the Midwest and who somehow stood up the country in the face of fascism and Nazism and a world war that embroiled the world in war. Where we had unemployment rates across this country at 20 and 30%. If that generation was able to do what they did, we in 2009 ought to be able to confront the challenges of our time. So President Obama believes, as I do, that our best days are around the corner, and it's going to take resolve and patience on the part of the American people, but we're going to get there. In my own personal life, Al asked me if I'd say a little of my family, and so I will do this in closing relative to my family. My family settled the part of northern New Mexico now more than 400 years ago, before Jamestown and Plymouth Rock. But I remember many of the stories that were handed down in oral history, but one in which I would sit on my grandmother's lap when I was a young boy out on the farm, and she would tell me about her own life. And she would tell me the story of her and my grandfather, Juan, being out in a place called the Puncha Valley, which was about 30 miles south of our farm, where they were trying to homestead a place so they could add on 160 acres under the Homestead Acts of the time. And while they were out there, one of my uncles became very sick. And so my grandfather harnessed the horses, and they put my would have been my uncle into the wagon, and they headed off to the doctor's office, which was some 30 miles away. And through the night, my uncle had been yelling out to my grandmother and to my grandfather, "Ay mama, ay papa, ay Dios, o mom, o dad, o God, o mom, o dad, o God." And as they were going on the wagon to the doctor's office, my Uncle Willie continued occasionally to open up his eyes, and he would look at my grandmother with his big green eyes, and he would say, "Ay mama, ay papa, ay Dios." About a mile or so before they got to the doctor's office, he said it one more time, and he died in her arms. And I would think about this woman who weighed 88 pounds and wonder how it was that at the age of 80 she had kept on going through those difficult times. Because it was not just my Uncle Willie who had died as a member of her family, but she had lost 4 other children. 5 of her children died before they reached the age of 5 during those very hard times. But she had 3 children who survived. She had my father and his 2 sisters. And so that's what kept her going. She knew that someday, somehow, she had to live her life so that her surviving children and her grandchildren and her great-grandchildren, those beyond her, would have a better and less difficult life than she had had. For sure, there's no way that my grandmother could have seen around the corner and said, someday all 8 children of my only surviving son will be college graduates. She could not have seen that. She could not have seen that someday that a grandchild of hers would be a United States Senator, or that another grandchild would be a member of the U.S. House of Representatives, which my brother John Salazar is. She could not have seen that, or she could not have seen that someday I would be standing here before the Cleveland City Club and giving you a speech as the 50th Secretary of Interior. But the one thing that she did see, and the one thing that all of you see, the one thing that Barack Obama sees, is that our best days as a country are still ahead of us. And it's because of the people and the character that make us all Americans. Thank you all, and God bless you.
Inspiring. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. Today at the City Club of Cleveland Forum, we've been listening to the Honorable Kenneth Salazar, Secretary of the Interior. Thank you for that wonderful, inspiring speech. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This forum is now adjourned.